Guys, it is a really nice day out. I also just finished a painting, which I think looks pretty nice. So if you guys would like to see that, please let me know in the comments. And I'll post the link. Chapter 7. I woke up to the sounds of quarrelsome voices. My head still felt muddled and muzzy, and there was arguing going on from every direction. I was lying on the blue plaid sofa in Pastor Meek's office. The pastor, holding tight to a large pink Bible, was bellowing at a man so thin he'd have to stand up twice to cast a shadow. "This!" Pastor Meeks thumped a heavy hand against the large pink Bible. "This is not what I ordered." "I'm nothing but the delivery man, sir," the thin man stammered, his shoulders jerking. The delivery man was wearing overalls with a button-down shirt and a stained pink necktie. There was a wilted carnation pinned to the left strap of the man's overalls, and his thin hair was combed up and over his balding head like a blanket. He had a kind, sad face, like the face of a man who had just lost his dog, and he was holding a clipboard out in front of him like a shield. But neither the clipboard nor the man's sorrowful face could defend him from the preacher's hollering hoo-ha. Okay, then. When I agreed to order Bibles, no one at Heartland Bible Supply told me they were going to be pink, spat Pastor Meeks. "What do you think we are? A church full of mollycoddled sissies?" The delivery man's shoulders twitched again, like he was trying to keep the straps of his overalls from falling down. But all he could manage to say was, "Well, sir," or "No, sir," or "If you'll just sign here, sir," before the preacher cut him off again. On the other side of the room, Fish was arguing with Miss Rosemary in front of a large oak desk, while Grandpa Bomba sat across from them, nodding in the pastor's big leather chair. "Mibbs doesn't need a doctor, Miss Rosemary," Fish kept saying as he grabbed for the telephone in the woman's hand. "All she needs is to go home. To go home now!" Fish's wind whipped through the office, blowing papers off the desk and making people's hair dance atop their heads. The delivery man's thin hair snapped around like a bedsheet on a clothesline. "That is for an adult to decide, young man," Miss Rosemary insisted, trying to pry Fish's fingers from the telephone, but distracted by the flying papers and the unexplained wind lashing through the room. She had no real chance at getting the phone away from Fish. Roger! Will you please forget those Bibles for 1 second and help me?" Miss Rosemary shouted to her husband, but the man was still too wrapped up in his upset over the boxes of sissy Bibles to pay her any attention. "If you need an adult to decide, then let our grandpa have a say," Fish yelled. He finally managed to get the telephone away from the preacher's wife and scrambled over the top of Pastor Meek's desk, knocking picture frames and paperweights onto the floor as he went. Fish stood next to Grandpa Bomba, where he sat still hunched over in the leather chair. My brother raised the phone high above his head like he was daring Miss Rosemary to come and get it. "Tell her, Grandpa," said Fish. Unfortunately, Grandpa Bomba, being as old as he was, had fallen asleep and was snoring softly. Miss Rosemary cocked her head triumphantly, resting her hands on her hips. "Roger, I need your help!" The woman's voice was growing shrill. I could tell things were going to get far worse for us Beaumont kids than they had been that time that Fish and Rocket had spilled red punch all over the carpet in the fellowship hall. I sat up on the sofa, still feeling dazed. Then, as if two squabbles weren't enough, a third ruckus overlapped the others from out of nowhere. From where I sat on the blue plaid sofa, I couldn't see where these other voices were coming from, but to my distress and dismay, the voices sounded pretty surely like they might be coming from inside my head. It felt like I had two cross and cranky gals trapped behind my eyeballs. "This is all your fault, Carleen. You know that, don't you?" said the first whining nasal voice. "It's not my fault your son's dim-witted, Rhonda, you old bat," the second voice snipped back. This voice was lower, huskier, and younger sounding than the first. I looked around the room. I couldn't see anyone else there. The voices bounced like pinballs inside my skull. "No, you're just the one who got him delivering Bibles for your cousin Larry, instead of taking that job selling coffee at the bus station. Coffee's something people will buy, and Bibles ain't. Not pink ones!" My head swam with the voices that seemed to belong to no one. Still sitting on the sofa, I held my head in my hands, wondering what was wrong with me. I remembered going into the church kitchen and seeing Bobby's tattoo, seeing Bobby's tattoo move, hearing Bobby's tattoo speak. What had it said? She's really very lonely, you know. I tried to think over the noise of so many bickering voices, both inside and outside of my head. I couldn't understand any of it. Nothing about what was happening felt right. What had happened to my savvy? Grandpa was asleep, and I was hearing voices. With rising panic, I stared hard at Grandpa Bomba dozing in the preacher's chair. With every ounce of concentration, I willed my grandpa to wake up. But the noise in the room was too much for me, and I couldn't focus. I couldn't concentrate, I couldn't think. Maybe if everyone would just shut up, I might be able to make my savvy work. I covered my ears, trying uselessly to block out all the noise. I needed to get away. I needed to get to Selena Hope Hospital. I needed to go find my papa so that my savvy would clock in and start working right. Papa needed me. No one in the room had noticed that I was awake. Pastor Meeks had his back to me. He was throwing pink Bibles into cardboard boxes and shoving them across the floor toward the delivery man. Miss Rosemary and Fish were going round and round the preacher's desk, still fighting over the telephone. And the women's voices in my head were playing an endless tennis match of blame, blame, blame that pounded like blood in my ears. Will Jr. peeked through the crack in the door. When he saw that I was awake, he smiled, looking relieved. All I wanted to do was get out of that room, to run away. I waited for just the right moment for my escape, waiting until I was positive no one would see me jump up quick and duck out of the pastor's office, leaving all of the arguing behind me. As I fled the room, I was thankful to find the voices of Carlene and Rhonda, the two invisible ladies, fading away. Whoever they were, whatever they weren't following me. Outside the door, Will Jr. put his hand on my shoulder again, but this time it didn't feel so strange. He had unbuttoned the topmost button of his shirt, which made him look less grown up and more like a 14-year-old boy. He was holding the wrapped-up happy birthday pen set I'd dropped when I fainted. "You okay, Mibbs?" he asked, his dark eyes filled with worry. "I have to get out of here," I said desperately. "You have to help me get out of here."